Hey everyone, if you're watching this video, by now you probably know what's going on. That's right, I'm sitting on the front steps of my house because I sold my Ford Lightning. Yeah, it was a really difficult decision, but there were 4 key reasons why I decided to do it. And in this video, I'm going to go over all 4 of the reasons why I decided to part ways with my Ford Lightning. Reason number 1, this wasn't an inexpensive purchase, okay? It was something that was top of my budget at least. The cost for the vehicle, I had the Ford Lightning Lariat with the extended range battery. So if you get the extended range battery, that's another $10,000 upgrade. Okay. They've gone through about 3 price increases since they've released the Ford Lightning. Mine was a 2023. It's about $88,000 for the truck. Now for a truck, that's prior to tax. So depending on where you're at, this is a $90,000+ vehicle. And if you're going to spend 90 some odd $1,000, then I mean, you really want to make sure that you're getting a vehicle that you absolutely love, or at least I should say I want to have a vehicle that I absolutely love. When I decided to sell it, I talked to a gentleman that was at one of the Ford dealerships that I know, and I asked him about selling them, and he said that they're having a harder time selling some of the Ford Lightnings and that they didn't do really well on the last couple of them that they sold. So that leads me to believe that, well, what are prices doing on the resale market? So I went to CarMax and I talked to CarMax, and you have to set an appointment. You go down there, they do a vehicle evaluation. Well, my vehicle, my Ford Lightning, had about 7,000 miles on it. Everything's pristine on it, the extended range battery, the whole bit. How much do you think they offered me for that truck? $68,000. This guy walks out, hands me a little piece of paper, and he's like, here you go. He's like, yeah, they depreciate really quickly. I was like, apparently. So I took the paper, wadded up, threw it in the trash, and then drove down the road. But what it did tell me was there is something going on with the price of these vehicles. Either that or CarMax is just really not interested in buying my truck, which if it was a super high demand, they would have been jumping all over it, because you got to believe CarMax is in it to make a buck. So I went back to the Ford dealership. I thought they couldn't be offering me any less than CarMax. Well, turns out they did do a little bit better. They offered me $74,000, and that was, the top of the line that they could get me. So $74,000. I sat there, I thought about it, and I was like, okay, if the price of this vehicle is going to go down more, there's going to be more of these available. I don't want to be stuck holding the bag on this thing. So I decided to go ahead and list it online. So I listed online for $80,000, and lo and behold, within 2 weeks, actually first 2 weeks, it was completely silent. Didn't really have anybody reaching out to me, no questions. I had one gentleman that reached out to me, and he said, I will buy your truck for $80,000. So it was great. I ended up with exactly what I asked for. The gentleman, flew in from out of town. We had a seamless transaction. It was great. That took the cost off of my plate. You know what? The monthly payments, even though the interest was pretty good going through more Ford Motor Credit, it still was a hefty payment. It was a large investment. I didn't want to have that investment just sitting out there with the possibility of the price going down even further. The second reason why I decided to sell my Ford Lightning was ease of travel. In my first video, Why I Regret Buying My Ford Lightning, I go over the experience I had when I tried to go to the ski mountain with this truck and how challenging it was to charge the vehicle. A couple of other videos that I did, I had an experience where I'm trying to find reliable fast chargers so that I can go on my way, quickly get charged up, and not stress out. I gotta tell you, it was so difficult to find fast chargers that either weren't backed up with people waiting for them or that were operational, because Tesla had the only game in town, which was all of the superchargers, and basically if you don't have a Tesla, you're a stepchild, and it's really difficult. And there's a ton of different brands that have all sorts of vehicles. So everybody else is using all of these chargers, and then you have the Tesla brand. Well, fortunately, Tesla and Ford announced this week that they are going to do a partnership. I'm really, really impressed with Ford for being the wisest automaker out there to partner with Tesla. Now, why did Tesla partner up with that? Because they wanted to tap into the billions of dollars that the government is going to be, allocating for developing the outside charging network, the infrastructure throughout the entire country. So Ford, being smart, decided to go ahead and tap into that. But here's the thing. A lot of people don't realize this. Even if you have a Tesla supercharger, the cords are not long enough. It's kind of, awkward to be able to charge. Well, they're going to do a longer cord. It's called a magic dock. That's great. But the spaces are still these little tiny baby spaces. Okay, and I'm not just talking about Tesla. I'm talking about all the charging networks. There's a couple of times where I went and I parked somewhere to charge, and I had somebody knocking on the door of my truck saying, "Excuse me, you're taking 2 spaces." And I'm like, well, if they weren't like half-size spaces, I've got a man truck, and these are like little baby spaces, then it wouldn't be a problem. The bottom line is that the spaces are not designed for a big truck. The third reason why I decided to sell my Ford Lightning was the app and the interface. The app, what you're using on your phone on a regular basis, it was just very clunky. It was not designed for the all-electric vehicle. It was designed for something a long time ago, and it does not work very well with Ford Lightnings. Okay, if you're looking at modern technology and you're trying to use an old technology, that together is really, really tough. So I'm really, really hopeful that they're going to get that worked out, and that's probably something that will get worked out in the near future, I'm hoping. But they're relying on third parties, from my understanding, to build the technology, which is never very reliable, and that's just really, really clunky. The interface. Okay, when you're in the vehicle, when you're using the big, huge touch screen that you have there, they've updated it to Sync 4 at the time that I made this video, which is a big improvement, but it's still a long ways to go. For instance, if you're trying to make a phone call, half the time people can't hear you. You have to hang up. You have to call back. It's really, really clunky that way. Also, another really annoying thing that I think is it should default back to the map because you're driving and you want to see where you're going. You have to, sometimes it will take the map off, and you have to go into your profile and create this whole map experience. It's really, really convoluted and not very user friendly. So I'm going to say that in itself is kind of a headache when you're driving the vehicle. And it's something that I didn't want to have to deal with on a truck that I paid so much money for. And here's another little side note, okay? I'm not even going into the fourth reason yet, is that if you're spending a lot of money on a vehicle, and for me, it's hard-earned cash, I want to have something that if I want to go out and take it out in the wilderness, my truck, if I want to tow things long distance, I want to be able to do all of those things. It's not quite there yet. I will say this, I need to give it some props, okay? Smoothest driving truck that I've ever driven because of the weight of it. It's a very heavy truck, and as you're driving that, it's like gliding down, and it's very easy, super fast. It's like an oversized go-kart that you can just push the pedal and it's gonna go. It's gonna have a lot of power. Now, also, I can put a lot of things in the bed. That's not going to be a big deal when it comes to range and all of those things, depending on what you're hauling. I never hauled anything really, really huge, so that was actually really, really cool. And, in the end of the day, you can use it for a lot of things that you use trucks for, but you have to do it within a close proximity to your house. Now, I was too scared to take it out in the wilderness, go 4x with it, because the thing's so heavy. If I popped a tire, something happened that way, try to jack that thing up, that would be an absolute nightmare. So it just didn't have the utility that I was looking for. And the final reason, the final straw that broke the camel's back. If you remember, there's a video that Ford called me. One of the executives reached out to me based off of the video that I made about why I regret buying a Ford Lightning. I thought that that was really cool. The guy was actually super nice. I'm going to give him props. We emailed back and forth quite a few times. They told me a couple things. One thing they said is that I was going to be able to be part of a test group. The other thing is they said that I was going to be able to talk to maybe a developer or someone in charge of the interface and help give some suggestions that would make it more user-friendly. So after several emails back and forth, several phone calls, I was feeling encouraged. I wrote the video, or I did the video, recorded the video, sent it out there for all of you guys to get feedback. And what happened? Nothing. Nada. Zero. Zilch. Now, that really played into my thought process, because if I'm going to spend this much amount of money, I want to see that there's hope that they're going to work through some of these bugs. If I can be part of that and you guys can be part of that, then I feel like that's a win. I think what I found out is that Ford is just a very old company, and to listen to customer feedback and to really take that to heart and to go out of their comfort zone, I just don't think that that's something that they're willing to do. Maybe one of my videos rubbed them wrong, I don't know, but they pretty much just quit having contact, and it doesn't seem like they're interested in, talking more. So for all of these reasons, I thought it was time for me to say farewell to my Ford Lightning, at least for now. I am hopeful that at some point they're going to work a lot of these issues out, that they're going to end up, continuing to improve on the truck. And I just have to say, the truck itself is actually a pretty nice truck. It was all of the reasons that I just stated that didn't make sense for me anymore to be an owner after only 6 months. At the end of the day, as a consumer, I get to decide where I spend my money. And if I'm going to spend this amount of money, I want to love what it is that I spend my money on. And this particular truck, I think, still has room for improvement. And when it does, maybe I'll look at it again. I don't know. I've got a reservation for a Chevy all-electric, the new Silverado, so we'll see. I don't know if I'm going to pull the trigger on that. When the Cybertruck comes out, you better believe I'm going to be one of the first people to find one, to test drive it, to check it out. I've got some really cool things in the works that I'm going to be working on to put into my garage. I think you're going to be interested to see what I end up buying on the next vehicle. I'll do a video on that. But I just want to thank you guys for being along on this journey. And hey, you know what? We all learned something from this. Hopefully Ford learned something from this. Hopefully you learned something from this. And it's been a cool experience owning my Ford Lightning. And it was just finally time to say adios. All right, guys, saying goodbye to the Lightning. Here it is. Got my Kirkland water over here. Give you a look at the inside. They actually did a really nice job with all of the fit and finish. You know what? This is a very comfortable, super luxurious cabin. And I will say this. I will miss the roominess of everything that it had. Beautiful coloring and styling. It's like brand new. Still smells like brand new. It was a great truck. We're gonna miss it. But I'm not going to miss some of the aspects of it, which I've already talked about, but I wanted you to actually get one last good look at everything that this truck had to offer. You can see my floor mats that I put in there, and the floorboards, the automatic running boards. Those are awesome. It's been a good truck. It's been a good run, and it's time to give it to a new owner.